South Carolina at number 7, Ole Miss, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Can Ole Miss avoid the trap game that Alabama barely avoided last week against South Carolina? Listen, it is a great time to be Lane Kiffin right now. His Rebels are off to a 7-1 start this year. Ole Miss is ranked number 7 in the latest AP poll. They just beat number 13 Oklahoma this past week, 34-26. Lane Kiffin's name is also being mentioned very heavily for the open LSU and Florida jobs, which will result in a massive raise for him. Whether or not he takes those jobs, because either he's going to take one of those jobs and get a massive raise, or Ole Miss will give him a massive extension, a lot like Chris Netti got at Indiana. But got to be focused this week against South Carolina. All Ole Miss has to do probably is win 3 of their 4 remaining games to feel good about making the college football playoff this year. But with all the outside noise surrounding Lane Kiffin right now, he and the Rebels need to be focused this week against a South Carolina team that most recently took number 4 Alabama all the way down to the wire. The Crimson Tide barely escaped with a win against South Carolina. Ole Miss needs to be careful this week.
And don't forget South Carolina, they're scratching and clawing just trying to make a bowl game. They need to win 3 of their last 4 to do it. They've got Ole Miss, A&M, Coastal Carolina, and Clemson. So it really starts this week. If they don't win this week, then you don't love their chances to even make a bowl game. And they've struggled on offense all year. But you have to feel like, okay, if you're Ole Miss, like you just mentioned, cut out the noise, stay on task. It's all right in front of you. You've gotten through the hardest part of your schedule, but you can't think of it like that. It's one game at a time, and you saw it. And I think the fact that South Carolina went to the wire with Alabama last week, Lane Kiffin watches that tape and sees that result and goes, hey, we got to be on high alert. This team can do it. They still have a lot of talent. They just haven't executed in certain spots on their team. They could have easily beat Bama last week. So I do think the urgency is going to be very, very high for both teams.
So you have the Ole Miss offense with Trinidad Chambliss. What should we know in the Rebels of the ball?
Well, what we should know is that he should be playing every single snap this week, first and foremost, coming off a great game against Oklahoma. But I really think that's the theme here. And Kwan Lacey also had a bounce-back game last week in the run game. But I really think that's the theme, is that Chambliss bounced back from a rough outing against Georgia where he missed a lot of throws, and he was the best player on the field against Oklahoma last week. If he can do that again, then you really feel like Ole Miss is going to win the game. He did it against LSU. He did it against Oklahoma. Last week, 80.8 passing grade, 4 big-time throws, added in 53 rushing yards as he does. He makes plays with his legs late in the play as well, and it's that last point right there, an 88 clean pocket passing grade against what had generally been a great Oklahoma pass rush, but was only sacked once last week, and he was fantastic making accurate throws downfield from a clean pocket. I think Ole Miss's passing game in this game, you really want to attack. The deep ball may not be there as much, but you really want to attack these linebackers. Same thing I talked about with Ty Simpson in Alabama last week. I think the tight ends, Daquan Wright and Luke Haas, could really they could be a big factor in this game plan, in the passing game over the middle of the field and making plays after the catch. Wright is their second leading receiver right now. Haas, they tried to get the big play too on the play action pass, and he just missed the throw. But I think those two guys could play a big factor in their success this week. And look, Ole Miss getting back home, they have an opportunity, I think, to score a lot of points again this week with the matchup. And look, if you can work around Dylan Stewart and Brian Thomas Jr., the 2 great pass rushers for South Carolina, I think Chambliss could have a lot of opportunities for success in this game.
So I feel bad for South Carolina fans because every single time we preview a South Carolina game and we get to their offense, it's the same exact preview every single time. But really the only way that South Carolina's offense can even function right now is if Lenore Sellers can be Superman. I hate having to say the same thing over and over again, but it's really the only thing you got to know for the South Carolina offense, I would think, right now. They have been so reliant on him to play that role of Superman this year. And listen, he put on his cape against Alabama this past weekend. He forced 10 missed tackles on the ground, 105 rushing yards after contact against Alabama as well. He leads all Power 4 quarterbacks with 397 rushing yards after contact and 38 forced missed tackles this year, but he's been far less efficient as a passer with only a 68.5 passing grade. Ole Miss has had some issues with mobile quarterbacks this year. Taylon Green at Arkansas is a very similar skill set to Lenore Sellers. Taylon Green ran for 115 yards and a touchdown in a close loss to the Rebels. Gunnar Stockton and Jake Retzloff at Georgia and Tulane, both of them ran for over 50 yards against Ole Miss as well. If Ole Miss contains Lenora Sellers within the pocket, it has a decided advantage over what's been a really bad offense otherwise for South Carolina. But if you let Lenora Sellers get outside the pocket and make plays with his legs, just like last week against Bama, that could be an opportunity for South Carolina to get a really big upset.
And it'll be a different element for Ole Miss in this matchup this year because they beat South Carolina 27-3 at South Carolina last year, but Robbie Ashford played because Lenora Sellers was hurt. So they have not seen Sellers before, and I think they're going to be full aware that his legs are the most dangerous part of this team. You have to keep him in the pocket. You have to make him hand it off as much as you can on read options. If you do that, it's only so often that he can lead the team to big plays because that's really the biggest thing you see with this offense is that they're like that. They're like that team in baseball that leads the league in home runs but also leads the league in strikeouts, and that just comes – the strikeouts come a lot more than the home runs, obviously, with the way things work. I just think – you're right. It's the same thing every week. Is how far can he carry them? Last week it was to 22 points and a close game against Alabama, and then it was actually him that fumbled at the end that gave Bama their last touchdown effectively. But no, I mean their offensive line has struggled. Nick Harbor's been inconsistent. He's been a deep threat, but there's not been much in between. And look, South Carolina would really help them if they could run the football with Rasul Faison and Oscar Attaway as well. They've struggled a bit behind that offensive line. So as always, the focus is Lenora Sellers. He can carry them to a win. Will he do it this week? We'll find out the hard way.
Yeah, just really limited the big plays as a passer and runner because they're going to try to take some deep shots in this one too, to Nick Harbor as well. So Ole Miss has got to be ready for that right now. And Ole Miss right now is 52nd in coverage grade this year. So be a little careful and be on high alert for Lenora Sellers as a passer and runner with the deep shots as well. All right, Dalton. Andrew Harbaugh in the chat saying, why are you bringing up the 2024 Pittsburgh Pirates? I guess they were a team that struck out a lot but also hit a lot of home runs.
I don't remember them hitting a lot of home runs, but sure.
That's what Andrew Harbaugh said. I don't know.
Wow. I mean, you know me. I'm watching the Mets every night, so I don't catch all the Pirate games.
You watched the entire game last night, right?
I mean, I tuned in after the Chiefs game was about over. I tuned in, and it was probably the 7th inning.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a huge baseball guy, but that was one of the best sporting events I've ever seen.
Yeah, 18.
That was an incredible
18 innings is always something. Some
of the best defensive plays I've ever seen, too.
I sat through an entire 18-inning game in person one time. Yeah.
Damn.
And
they stopped serving beer. It was 7th inning, so you got to go through 11 innings.
Yeah, it was
those poor fans sobered up and got hungover all while the game was still going on.
Absolutely. It was they might have gone to sleep and woke up. It was tomorrow and then it was still going. I sat through 18 innings one time. It was fun. Don't get that much anymore.
What a ball game we had yesterday, and what a ball game hopefully tonight we'll get to with Otani on the mound too. But back to college football, who wins between Ole Miss and South Carolina?
I'm taking Ole Miss. I mean, look, South Carolina, they had the home cooking going last week. They still couldn't pull it out. Sellers is always a threat, and you feel like he can make a few big plays on this Ole Miss defense that is solid, and I think actually did, other than one Xavier Robinson, run a really nice job in run defense last week. But they still have too many advantages here, and as long as Chambliss keeps playing well, I like their chances. I'm going to go Ole Miss 31. I'm going to give South Carolina 23 points here. I think Sellers can make a handful of big plays that keep him in it, but overall Ole Miss is just better, and the inconsistency of this South Carolina offense really sinks him again.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss is going to win this one 35-17. I have Ole Miss, once again, covering that spread right now. I think they'll do a good enough job of containing Lenore Sellers, and also I think that the South Carolina secondary is going to struggle to keep up with a explosive passing attack that Ole Miss has right now with Chambliss, those receivers, and of course Lane Kiffin drawing up plays too. So I've Ole Miss winning this one 35-17.